Welcome to the Upside podcast, where we help you get unstuck in your life and your business by elevating your thinking and provoking meaningful change from the inside out. I am Theresa Flood, and I invite you, if you haven't already, go to thereSaflood.com, and it's Teresa spelled with an H, so it's there'saflood.com, and be sure to register as a subscriber, and I will put you on an email list every Thursday after the new episode drops. I'm going to send you a teaching guide, which is going to be a great resource for those of you leaders out there, or maybe you're just working on your own personal development and would like to have something to go along with the episode. So today, we are going to talk about one of the mindsets that I believe is so key and so pivotal to living a big life. And I want to give you two truths before we start to set the groundwork. And the first one is that what you focus on expands. And the second one is that what you see becomes your reality. What you focus on expands, and what you see becomes your reality. So we're going to talk today about abundance versus scarcity thinking. And I think most of the world is in these two different buckets, either people who think with abundance or people who think with scarcity. Now, this has nothing to do with how much money is in somebody's bank account, how many possessions that they have, what their life looks like on the outside. It is truly a way and a view that we have of the world. Now, I do believe that when we get into abundant thinking, all of those things have the opportunity to grow and become bigger. So what is abundance thinking? Abundance thinking believes that there is enough resources for everyone, that there's enough. There's not lack, that there is enough. Scarcity thinking says that resources are limited and there isn't enough to go around. And it shows up especially when we're under pressure. So even those of us who think abundantly can sometimes, under stress or under pressure, sneak back into scarcity thinking, or maybe have certain areas of our life that we have scarcity thinking. So I want to give you some things that a scarcity-minded person might say, and what it would sound like coming from an abundant-minded person. And I'm going to challenge you to, as I say these, to own any pieces that you may go, oh, I say that. Oh, yep, that's a little way I think. And look at, what does the abundant mindset say? So a scarcity mindset might say things like, there's never enough time. I don't have time. I'm so busy. An abundant mindset would say, I make time for what matters most. A scarcity mindset is going to say, I can't afford that. An abundant mindset would say, how can I afford that? Or I choose carefully where my money goes. A scarcity mindset would say, I'm not good enough. An abundant mindset would say, I'm growing to become the person that I'm meant to be. Scarcity says, well, what if I fail? Abundance says, what if this works even better than I imagine? Scarcity says, opportunities like this don't come to people like me. An abundant mindset says, opportunities are everywhere and I'm open to receiving them. A scarcity mindset says, if I rest, I'll fall behind. An abundant mindset says, rest fuels my creativity and my clarity. Scarcity says, someone else already does that. Abundance says, my voice and my story are uniquely mine. Scarcity might say, I can't share my ideas, they'll be stolen. Abundance says there's more than enough success to go around. Scarcity says, I have to say yes or I'll miss out. Abundance says, I say yes to things that align with my goals. Scarcity says, if they win, I lose. Abundance says their success expands what's possible for all of us. Scarcity says, I have to hold tightly to what I have. Abundance says, I trust that letting go creates space for more. Scarcity says, well, this is as good as it gets. And abundance says, the best is still yet ahead. Maybe you heard yourself saying some of those things and falling into a scarcity mindset. I want to give you 3 ways that we can practice living in abundance. And I use the word practice very much on purpose. Practice means to do something over and over until we get it right, over and over until we perfect it. To practice something means that we are going to do it until we can't get it wrong. We're going to do it until it becomes second nature to us. And I believe that there are 3 actually very simple ways and simple practices that we can have that's going to cause us to move from scarcity thinking into abundance thinking. And the first one is to practice gratitude. Gratitude will dispel scarcity thinking. When we focus on all of the things that we are grateful for, when we are focused on how blessed we are, remember, what we focus on expands. So gratitude causes us to put our focus on what we do have as opposed to all of the things that we don't have. And gratitude isn't just gratitude when things are great. Gratitude isn't just gratitude when everything feels wonderful. It's gratitude in all things at all times. And if we can learn to practice gratitude, we're going to learn to practice having an attitude of abundance in our lives. I was on our Dallas Preston Road morning huddle this morning, and our guest speaker came in and he talked about how he had a major life experience that really took him out financially. He shared a very personal story about something that had happened over 10 years ago. And his coach at the time asked him to try a little experiment. And she told him, I want you every single morning before your feet hit the floor to write down 5 things you're grateful for. And every night before you go to bed, I want you to write 5 things you're grateful for. And he said at the time, he kind of rolled his eyes. He's like, you do not understand how bad my life is. This is not the answer. I seriously need a solution. This is ridiculous. But he respected her, so he obliged. He's like, all right, we'll experiment with this. And to this day, it is his favorite message to share about the power of gratitude. He said it absolutely rescued him when he was at a most bottom point of his life and changed his life forever because he started practicing gratitude. So if that is you, I'm going to encourage you to do 5 things you're grateful for every morning, write them down, and 5 things you're grateful for every night. If you're in a situation where you're facing a challenge in the middle of the day, you're starting to feel your energy drop, starting to feel upset, starting to come from that scarcity perspective, 5 things you're grateful for. Doesn't matter what they are. They don't have to be big things, just 5 things you're grateful for. The second thing is to practice generosity. And generosity is absolutely an antithesis to scarcity. And I'm going to encourage you to practice generosity with your time, your talent, your treasure, to share generously with people around you and to practice it on purpose. You know, one of the ways that you can practice generosity is sharing what you know, teaching what you know, mentoring others, collaborating in your industry and in your business, sharing what is working in your wins. That's one of the things that I love about Keller Williams, that I love about our Dallas Preston Red Market Center, is our top most successful people come from a mindset of abundance. They're sharing absolutely everything that they're doing in their business openly, open to anybody to come in and hear and listen. And why? Because they believe there's enough to go around. There's enough business to go around. There's enough knowledge to go around. And when they do that, they actually receive so much more. So practice sharing and contributing. Practice sharing compliments. You know, I think jealousy is such a scarcity mentality, because what jealousy says, because somebody else has something, I feel a lack that I don't. And I wish they didn't have it because I don't. It's really coming from a place of scarcity. And I would encourage you, if you're feeling jealous or envious about somebody or something, find a way to go compliment them. Find a way to go say, encourage them. Wow, I really admire this about you. I think this is really amazing about you. I absolutely love X, Y, and Z about you. And I promise you, it'll start to take you out of this comparison trap and put you into a place of abundance, because they can continue to be awesome, amazing, and spectacular. And it doesn't change anything about who you are. As a matter of fact, when you begin to honor that in somebody else, you open yourself up to receiving and being more. When, Tommy and I, we've been married now for 26 years. We had the girls, I guess it was 13 years into marriage. And that wasn't exactly by choice. There was a lot of years that I wanted to be pregnant and wasn't pregnant. And I made a decision, though, very early on, because, again, I was in my 20s. And so I knew a lot of people having babies and getting pregnant easily and multiple times, and, baby showers and all of the things happening. And I remember very early on, I made a choice and I said, I am not going to feel sorry for myself. and feel upset about other people having the very best gift. And it was almost like I pictured it like, it's not like there's this basket of babies in heaven, and God's handing out babies to all of these women, and some woman took my baby. That's not how that works, right? Um, and when I really started saying I can rejoice, I can be excited, I can absolutely celebrate when other people's dreams are happening and coming true, it kept me in a mindset of abundance, and it kept that journey really from being a really horrible time to being a time that I can still experience joy. So I'm going to encourage you to practice gratitude and then also to practice generosity. And then the third thing is to practice faith. And there are two ways that we can make decisions or live our lives, and it's either by faith or by fear. And I used to say all the time that I wanted to raise Jillian and Jet to be fearless. And I remember Tommy and I talking about this one time, and he said, fearless really isn't, it's not even possible, right? We're not going to be completely fearless. However, we can be courageous when we experience fear. And so I've shifted that now. As a mom, I want to raise courageous women, courageous girls who feel the fear and they do it anyway. It's one of the core values that we live our life and our family by, that we make decisions. We say we're going to make a decision. There may be fear there. And I'm going to make the decision being driven and motivated by faith. And I would encourage you, anytime you're facing a crossroads and you have two things ahead of you, a lot of times there is fear in both of those decisions. When Tommy and I were going through IVF to get pregnant with the girls, we were about halfway through the process. I had done all of the gazillion, trillion shots. We had paid out all of this money that we really barely had. And we went in for a doctor appointment, and they found a cyst on my left ovary. And they pulled us in with the doctor, who was brilliant, but had no personality. And he was like, there was a cyst. We're probably not going to get any eggs off of that ovary. You need to decide if you want to move forward with one ovary or if you want to cancel this session, and we'll try again in a few months. And I think we had about 24 hours to go back and decide. And there was fear in both decisions. There was fear about the finances of starting over and doing it again. There was fear around proceeding and being foolish by only having one of the ovaries, making the eggs. And we prayed about it, and we both felt that now was the time and that we were going to move forward. Still had fear, but we were going to be motivated and driven by faith. And the cool part of that story is when they went in there, if you don't know a lot about IVF, I'm maybe not explaining this very well, but it doesn't really matter. Just you'll get the point of the story. The cyst that was in there did not even inhibit anything. And they pulled out more eggs than they even needed. And it was literally every answer to prayer. And I have two beautiful baby girls. And I say that because when we practice gratitude, when we practice generosity, and when we practice making our decisions in faith and not in fear, it's going to keep our mindset in abundance. And it's going to cause us to attract people around us who have abundant mindsets as well. So practice gratitude, practice generosity, and practice faith, and watch abundance flow greatly in your life. Thank you for tuning in today. That's all I have for you. Remember, when you invest in your life every single day and in your personal growth, it's going to yield you great returns. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you on the upside.